Welcome to this topic on inclusive urban governance. My name is Remy Sietchiping. I worked at UN Habitat headquarters in Nairobi, where I'm tasked to lead the section on policy, legislation, governance. So today's topic will help us define the key notions of inclusive urban governance. Inclusive governance means that we embrace everybody, regardless of race, culture, gender, disability, and any other condition. It's about giving equal access opportunities to all without any form of discrimination or intolerance, to remove any social barriers that may hinder that collaboration. So it's all about justice. In terms of inclusive governance, it's important that some key principles are considered. Accountability, participation, equity, effectiveness are some of these key principles that would help you achieve what you may call a good urban governance. And each of these principles have some instruments, some dimensions that help you achieve that. If I just take one, on accountability, for instance, do we have, in the context of accountability, a formal or really clear system assigning contracts and giving grants that is equitable and everyone can participate, and effectiveness? Just to say that each principle, they are not working in silo, they work together. Do we have a system in place for an independent audit system? Do we have a way to control any level of government that we have? Do we have a code of conduct that are being used and applied and abide by? So all these instruments could be there to foster, to support accountability. So it's important that we don't just have the principle, but we also have key dimension instruments, and that those instruments are put into use and implemented. If I now want to break down in the context of inclusive governance, the principle of equity, and I would like to focus on the equity to access and to be part of decision making. We have noted that it's important we focus on the well-being, the quality of life. And this equity is really at the heart of it. So when we are talking about inclusive urban governance in cities, it may just mean that we create instrument system and be conscious that the access to food, nutrition, education, employment, livelihoods, healthcare, shelter, safe drinking water, sanitation, all these type of services that you have in cities is equitable. That is, we don't have a neighborhood that has some and other that do not have. Then you can really tell if your city is equitable or not. And that the same way that women, men, and other groups have some level of representations in the discussion, in the decision making, because their needs might not be the same. So that element of gender, youth or age sensitiveness in terms of urban governance is very important for equity in city. Just to give you two possible ways you can take forward in acting, supporting equity in cities, just imagine that you, in all your decision making, you just ask yourself, are women and men equally represented? Or the issues that at least these groups have expressed adequately captured in your decision making? It could be in policy making, in selection of projects and identification of interventions and so forth. And this can just be done by ensuring that each time you have something, you just disaggregate your data in terms of men and women, interest, age, or whatever. Just have the data that can show the social fabrics of your city to make sure that there's no overrepresentation in terms of interest. The second action that can be considered is to just agree among all the stakeholders, if such space exists, that we agree on the principle to prioritize infrastructure and pricing of urban services, because that's where tenders are sometimes used as a means of abuse. But if you agree that this is the maximum fees or that can be charged for such services, that creates equitable access. We can't charge more than in one part of the city and less in other parts, or one project and different. So that elements of equity can help you work towards more justice in managing your city. If I take now the element of efficiency, or the principle of efficiency, how do you make your city efficient through inclusive urban governance? You'll understand that inclusive governance, when well applied, would certainly increase your efficiency in city. And this efficiency is really about often the financial efficiency. There are many wastages in cities management that can be addressed. What action can you consider to make sure that you create more efficiency to promote inclusive urban governance? One of the key instruments for efficiency is about partnership. Partnership because, as I said earlier, urban space is a collective, is a common. So if you have the private, the public, the civil society, all these actors be part of your decision on anything in city, that helps you, address some of the challenges. Efficiency is not necessarily about going faster. It's about reducing wastage and create a common ground for everybody to use and to work towards. The other action is, again, the instruments, the institutional instruments that we need to put in place. We have to put in place, even at the city level, predictable regulatory or legal frameworks to make sure that everyone is reading from the same script. That is not only depending on the view or propositions of one actor, one leader, or the mayor. So having such framework that is commonly agreed and available and everyone would refer to is important. At times, the challenges of cities can be overwhelming, and that brings you to the third action in the context of efficiency, that we want to do everything at once. We have to be sometimes modest, humble, and set up clear and objectives and targets that can be achieved within the time frame you have. The point here is to make sure that you find the most transformative action, the one that will have more impact in the whole spectrum of your city, will impact many people in the city. So having some of these clear objectives, clear targets that can be achieved, it can help you in your efficiency, because when you disperse your energy, your time, effort, then the elements of efficiency and effectiveness is not sometimes clearly perceived.